Hi all. Right, back. Enemy action Kharkov, Soviet solo. This will be take 2 part 7. A couple of things to try and clear up here. Don't have an awful lot of time at the moment, but I was hoping to maybe try and get these things cleared up. Watching back, I noticed a mistake, which part of me is hoping now that it's not been the mistake that I thought, because Martin didn't mention this, but also I've made a few other comments about things I'm talking about that aren't quite right, but yeah. So what it was I moved these guys. Let's just try and remember where they were. This was here. This was here, and our attack. We attacked this. I think they had the pull out thing, and we were trying to work out where it was going to retreat to. So I think it broke down to Forest Hex, and this was the lowest number. That was his first retreat, right? Now his second retreat, I concluded that stay there a minute, please. What I'm looking for retreat. So this one. I concluded that within the preferences, German VP hex not on dangerous around woods terrain, which we'd done the first one, and then lowest number we tie-break to hex to which no Soviet unit is proximate. Now, I don't know how I counted this up. I think it was these woods that threw me a bit. This unit wasn't here, by the way, at the time. Not that that's relevant, I don't think, anyway. So I concluded that the possibilities were 0209 and 0109. I concluded that we were proximate to this hex, 1, 2, 3. And at first I went through the woods when I was counting. I was watching myself, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I stopped and I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm adjacent to the garrison, can't move any further. But I think something in my head said I had 6 movement, and you can clearly see that this guy's got 7 movement. And he was on top. It wasn't as if the guy on the bottom was down below. So, in fact, hold on. Did we not attack from 2 hex? No, we did attack from the 1 hex, I think, with this one. So I concluded that this hex was proximate to me, but I didn't count this one as proximate. So I thought, right, that one's not proximate, I'll go there, right? And Martin said I got it right, but I was proximate to both hexes, and I looked at it and I was like, and I was about to start typing it back to him, and then I realised to myself, wait now, he doesn't really get things wrong, this guy. So I looked again and I thought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's clearly proximate to that hex with using the full movement grant. So yes, again, it was right in that, and it should have been the lowest number. However, when you're watching back on it, I thought that when I was here and I was deciding between these 2 hexes, I then realised, hold on, what's wrong with this guy? What's wrong with this hex? There's a unit in it, I can't see in it. It doesn't prefer an empty hex. I thought maybe that's where my thinking had been, but it's not. So I concluded in the end, and unfortunately I then had already recorded the next video, and we had this guy in here, and we ended up with these guys up here having an attack on this. But I kind of think that, so I'm just putting back this now, that between these 3 choices, now these blue markers are garrisons at the moment for what we're talking about. They've just been left there. So I'm not proximate to this hex, because I can't move into here. I need to stop for the garrison. I've definitely not got enough movement to be proximate to that hex. So, and even if I was proximate to it, it's the lower number. It's 0108. So you got 0209, 0109, 0108. So I think he should have retreated into there in his second hex. Now I've sent a comment back to Martin saying, don't you think he should have been put there? That's where I feel like, and I've made the comment in the header of part 6, I think, or what is this? This is 7. I can't, yeah, because that comment I made saying I got it wrong was in part 5, is it not? Give me a sec. Yeah, it was in part 5. I said, I think the second retreat should have gone into Hex 0108 and joined Unit 417168 Rouse. So I'm not sure if maybe because I've been talking about these the two choices, Martin's maybe not even considered this himself, but he generally does like look into everything and spot everything. So, but he might not have spotted that. So I've commented and said, should it not have retreated into here, Martin? So I'm hoping to get something back from him with that, because I think that's what should have happened. And now, unfortunately, with that is what we then done in the next impulse or the next turn, or I can't remember, the next chance we got, we moved in here and we had an attack on this. So I've got a bit of fixing to do here. I've got a plan for the fix, but it's a bit rewindy and a bit changing things up a bit and whatever. But I'll discuss that when we get to it. But let's see if Martin's going to come back and maybe say, for some reason he can't retreat into there. I don't know. I might be missing something. And if it is, then I've got lucky and things can just be left as they are. Just another quick one before I have to dash off just now. Another quick one. I mentioned that I think I was trying to move into this, as this unit did. I was trying to move into this city, and I says, I'm proximate to that city. Got to remember, you got to stop when you come adjacent to garrison. So I made a comment in the header about that. This was in part 5. And we'd done it properly, I didn't just stroll right in. We moved the unit up as adjacent, got to stop there, that's that. Okay, I've got to take a break for now. I knew I didn't have too much time, but I thought I could get started. So there's a couple of other things to talk about. Well, I'll be back shortly, okay, cheers. Right, hi all. Well, although I did just have things paused, but I've been away for a while. Right, so to fix this situation. Okay, I did get a reply back to Martin, and he did agree that this unit should have retreated back into here. Not only because it was the lowest hex number, but like he said, I definitely didn't have a unit proximate to that one, so it should have been there. So yeah, I think it just threw me because it was a unit there, but I don't know why that should have thrown me. There was nothing to say, but that's one of the ones I watched back and I seen the error and I realised, although this proximate thing, I didn't notice that. It's strange how things like that you can miss, I think it was maybe just because this was the 7 movement and I was like 3, 6, right, but it's got 7, one more, I need a clear hex. However, we got away with that part of it, but we didn't really get away with this, unfortunately. So I've got to make a decision on what I'm going to do here. Now, my thought initially had been, because there's 3 ways I could do it. One is the way that I'd like to do it. I'll get to that in a minute. The other 2 options are I redo the whole impulse of the 2 stacks of 3rd tank units. That was our last impulse, wasn't it? Or was it? Yeah, because it was a supplemental card. I think that was the last impulse, and then we used this for air power. So that's the last thing I actually done. The Germans did have a impulse to finish the day, to finish the turn, and it was 2nd SS, and the guy got placed here. Now I say none of that would change. Well, it might if I altered. It was these 3 units stacked together that moved from here. That was one of my 2. Sorry. Let's get the card back out. That was one of my 2 3rd tank army unit stacks, and the other one was these 2 guys, which moved from. Where was it they moved from? Was it here? That's where they were when they attacked. No, they did. They advanced after combat into that hex, didn't they? That's right. Yeah, I need to double check back on that. I think I was right. So one of the options is we redo that impulse, which I don't want to do as well. We didn't get a great result out of this combat. And then the other option is we leave everything as it is. But this unit shouldn't really have retreated to there. He should have retreated to there. That doesn't sit very well with me because I like things to have been done right. And I can fix this, although I've got to alter things a little bit. Now, the option I thought might be the better one, although it's kind of like taking things and doing something that I'm saying that I think I would, that I would have done instead if this unit had retreated to this proper hex, right? And these two guys were in here, right? And I wanted to activate these 2 unit stacks. The 3 units being in there, and then these 2 here. And I thought that was a decent play. And I talked about attacking the 1-step unit here, right? So I think if the situation was like that, right, what I would have done was say, well, okay, we can go and attack this guy. And it looks slightly better now because we're also getting round the back of the stack. You know, we can only move into this hex, admittedly, but if we get an attack on that guy, we advance after combat, and we could, if we 2 hex advance, we could advance down into here, sort of like surround, good chance of surrounding these units. So I think if the situation had been like this is what I would have done, and I would have moved. Now, unfortunately, I would have had to move the 2 units into the 1 hex, so it would have been a 1 hex attack. So what I was thinking about doing was not drawing any more combat chits, moving to there, and that's how I would have done it, and carried out the same combat. Now, I thought the results were going to be the same, and we would have had a step loss. However, the step loss came from an A1 chit that was defender adjacent, so we wouldn't have had that. So this is where I feel a little uncomfortable about, because if I do this, it does mean this guy's going to go back to full strength, like that, and the combat would have ended with absolutely nothing. Well, what it would have triggered the 1 hex attack, but that was a D-1. And I'll just double check the chits again, but I'm pretty sure the only chit we had applied was a defender adjacent chit, and if this attack had been here, that wouldn't have applied, and the only chit that would have applied would have been 1 hex attack, which is D-1. So there would be no damage to nothing. He would have been at full strength. So I suppose that's the bit I feel slightly uncomfortable about, because I'm benefiting there. But I didn't realise that at first. I thought, right, I'll go back and we'll just do that, and we'll say we've attacked this guy, and all is good, the result's still the same. And it's when I was watching back, I thought, oh wait, now the results aren't the same. I mean, like I say, I could redo the impulse, put these guys in the same position, put them where I wanted to put them. I wouldn't have changed that. Move this into here, and then draw 3 new chits. Unfortunately, all the chits have been put back in the cup now because we reached the end of turn. So all that I don't feel good about. So I'd rather say that I'm sure you can believe me if I say that if this was the starting position and all these units were starting in there, I would have done exactly the same. I would have moved these round, moved that up there, and this wouldn't be able to have made the attack. Well, you know what, I could still have made the attack on this, but this is 3 steps, 4 strength. My plan was to target a little 1-step unit that was only 2 strength and get 4-1 odds. So I would say, right, okay, well, we'll go for this guy, make the attack. The result came out D-1, so no damage to my guys, right? Okay, so I know I'm benefiting from this, And some of you might be saying, oh yeah, okay, Grant, aye. Okay, it's a mistake that I made that I'm trying to fix. It's either that, leave that like that, which I don't feel comfortable about, because that's not where that unit should have been, or redo the impulse, which, okay, I could end up with better or worse results there. But I think the fact that I mixed up all the combat chits, that's why I feel a bit uncomfortable about redoing that and redrawing chits and whatever. So I think I'm going to go for this one. I asked Martin for his thoughts, but he hasn't come back with in yet. So and my guess is he'd probably say just leave it as it was. But he might also consider that he knows that I'm not like, I don't like to do that. So be curious to see what he did say. If he says, yeah, well, that's the move that you would have made if that had been properly dealt with. So just let that go like that. So I think I'm going to go with that. And yeah, it's not ideal, it's not brilliant, it's not perfect, but by all means vent your anger in any comments if you feel that I shouldn't have done that and benefited from not taking a hit here. All I can say is that if these Rouse units had ended up like this and I was making this activation, all I can say is this is the attack, this is what I would have done, with my other stack. So I can only ask you to believe that that's what I would have done. That's how the combat chits came out. Okay, they were slightly different because no defender adjacent, benefit to me. 1 hex attack, benefit to the Germans. However, I wasn't doing any damage anyway, so it was just a D-1. Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to settle on that one because it's nice and it's also easier to deal with as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm not up for the easy way of doing it, but this is the better way for me because I'm not drawing any extra chits that are now being mixed up and in a different place. Although I remember some of Martin's comments before, you're talking about shuffling decks and cutting them, and and you do a card out of order, and then you say, oh no, I've completely distorted the universe because I've drawn this card out of order. It's just a random selection. Same with drawing the chits, they're all random. I mean, I could just go into the whole pile of chits now and draw, what was it? We were drawing 4 or 5. I think we upped it to 4 from 3, wasn't it? Yeah, because it was only 1, 2, 3, and then we chucked the air power in for 4. So I could do that. Maybe that is the better way of doing it. But I'm going to go with this way, and we'll see. Like I say, well, I suppose if you make comments that you don't think that was the right way now, I might have moved past that, and we might just need to get on with it. But you can understand. Hopefully you can understand the slight dilemma that I had there. And I know most of you, I'm not just saying Martin, most of you are saying, look, just leave that Rouse guy there and reduce that unit. That doesn't sit well with me. So, and I'm sure you've seen me in many other positions in the same situation. And it's not that I'm trying to get a step back here. It's not that. It's I'm trying to do it right. And okay, I've done something slightly wrong and I need to fix it. So there's many a times I've went to fix something and it's totally like not been good for me at all. So I agree that this one is better for me, but anyway, well, hopefully you can understand that. Right, couple more things. 20 minutes in. Yeah, this is going to be. Well, hopefully it can. Well, this is just the start of the turn as well, so there's a couple of things to look at here. Mixing the cards and whatever. I made a couple of comments. What were they? Yeah, I talked about. Oh, it was when these detachments. You know what? I'm going to remove these now. Martin didn't say anything about these either, so I think And he also made a brief comment about part 6, saying that it was looking good. So, I mean, I don't expect him to sit and scour through everything just to tell me that, you know, right, you're good to go, Grant. But I felt like they were right as well. I couldn't trace reserve supply with them, so they went away. I just left the blue cubes to sort of say, yeah, one mistake I talked about at one time, if... Well, actually, that was another point, because our attack had 2 units here. And when I was talking about trying to trace this from this garrison, I was saying, oh, I can't go through there because this is exerting zone of control, and we're trying to trace reserve supply, and you can't go through a friendly unit that's in an enemy zone of control. Where you can in normal supply, but reserve supply you can't. And I was saying, so if that guy wasn't in there, I'd be able to trace off there. Well, just a reminder, I talk about it later, I can't trace reserve supply off of this map edge. And yeah, that's one of the comments I add to part 6. And the other one is, yes, okay, I'm going to have to apologise here. Okay. Yeah, it was me trying to place this garrison in here, and John, I went and asked questions on BGG, and John Butterfield came and said, no, you can't do that, and it's under 15.1, wasn't it? Which is talking about stuff in towns, and it clearly said the last bullet, German reserve units and garrisons can't be placed in a Soviet town or city. Right, full stop, job done, can't be done. But I was a wee bit smarmy and said, well, I think that should be under, you know, maybe I've got a case for saying something about the fact it's not under the section 10.6 garrisons. And Martin didn't hear this, by the way. He's only just watched this video now. But before that, he actually also followed up John's comment and said it's also under 10.6 German garrisons. So I'm like, hello, it is? And I'm like, right, I'm getting ready to get back to him here and tell him that he's talking a lot of rubbish. But it says, yeah, 10.6, page 24, garrisons are placed only in empty German position hexes and only if German reserve supply can be traced. We don't really need that, but it's the first part of that. Garrisons are placed only in empty German position hexes. And I think if he hadn't highlighted the word German in his reply, I wouldn't have maybe noticed it, and I would have got back to him and said, yeah, but Martin, that doesn't tell me that a garrison can't be placed in an empty Soviet-controlled town. Okay, sorry, I was called upon. That was my wife shouting up to say, are you getting on it, Martin? I was saying no. I says, I'm trying to apologise. So she's on your side too, Martin. Right. Okay, and like I say, you highlighted the word German. I still, when I read it, I thought, right, but hang on, right, it's a German position hex, okay. That doesn't tell me that a garrison can't be put in it, and I just didn't read it in that way, I suppose. You know, garrisons are placed only in German position hexes. This isn't a German position hex. It was once upon a time, and it is a position hex. It's not German anymore, it's Soviet. It's a Soviet position hex. So it tells you right there, garrison placed only in German position hexes. Simple. And so I didn't quite get my message typed back to you. I was typing it, and then I caught myself. But I did think for a while, because I do stop whenever Martin says something. I look and I say, right, okay, well, he must be right. And I'll say, no, you're not right here. This is not right. It clearly is, you know. So sorry, Martin. But anyway, fortunately, and sorry also to John, because I was maybe having a go at the rule book there and saying that there was nothing in that part that told me I couldn't put it in a Soviet controlled town, and it is in there, so sorry as well, John. Anyway, okay, so that was that. I think that was everything, wasn't that? Okay, yeah, that was everything. And just before moving on there, I thought I'd just have a glance at the computer. And Martin has said that he feels he likes the idea of me changing the attack to the other unit. So that's really good as well, because that's what I decided I was going to do. And yeah, so happy with that now. I'm assuming he doesn't mean like redrawn chits and whatever. I don't think so. I think he just means, look, this is what I would have done, and the results were slightly different. Okay, slightly beneficial to me, but let's just leave it at that and we'll move on. And then it also doesn't interfere with the. I don't think things would interfere with the last German impulse though, because so I could have redone that impulse, drawn new chits for the attack, but I'm not going to do that. We'll let that go. Okay, right. So let's start a new turn, and what do we do there then? So the couple of phases we skipped in turn 1. In fact, you skip the first 3 phases, don't you? So we have the reserve phase from turn 2. I haven't moved my game turn marker on. That was surely part of the end of turn, wasn't it? Yeah, I just must have forgot. Right, we're in game turn 2. Now I know I'm on the back page here, but maybe I should just look at the rules. No, come on, it's pretty straightforward here. So step 1 is deploy eligible German units already in the reserve box. Okay, so this is 9.0, so hang on. Okay, so we've got 2 units from the 40 Corps, the blue ones, and 1 unit from 3rd Corps. And under step 9, delayed German reserves. At the start of the reserve phase, on game turn 2 and all game turns thereafter, deploy all eligible German reserve units remaining in the reserve box from the previous game turn. So I can deploy all of them. Now when it says eligible, you've got to also consider that, if I'm right here, that it needs to be a full strength unit that's in there, because as turns move on, some of these eliminated units, they can come back from the dead, if you like. That's not that. It's just to, I don't know. There'll be a reason from just bringing more reinforcements back, and so any of these units could come back, and it's a replacement point that brings them back, but they come back reduced, and they go into their reduced. And although it might have their turn number, well, I don't think it will if they're shown on the reduced side. However, turn numbers don't matter with that, because that just says deploy all eligible German reserve units in the reserve box from the previous game turn. But just where's the eligibility, just to make me clear on this. Right, come on, where are you? I know it's here somewhere. Right, hang on till I find it then. Okay, that I could have this wrong then. I can only find this under the Soviet sort of rules. So, page 12, 7.3, delayed Soviet reserves. Now, this only happens from turn 3 onwards, and I think I mentioned it to you before that. It says it needs to be units with a printed game turn two turns earlier than the turn you're on. So that's why it can only start on turn 3. So on turn 3, and we check in that phase, this is step 2 of the reserve phase. We check any units that are still in the reserve unit box, right? So right now, if this was turn 3, these 2 units should have been the turn 1 reserves, so they would be eligible to be deployed right on the map right now in that phase. However, it says the rule is during the reserve phase, any full strength Soviet units. So it's saying there that any full strength Soviet units. Now, if a unit is replaced from the eliminated units box, it comes back into the reserve box, but it comes back in. If this was an eliminated unit, it comes back in on its 1-step side. So if we were in step 2 of the reserve phase right now and it was turn 3, we would be able to deploy this unit, but we wouldn't be able to touch this unit. This unit can only get deployed again by a command that deploys that 40th Army 40th Army unit. So I'm glad I read this, because I kind of thought it was the same for the Germans, but I'm not seeing that. And it finishes the paragraph with the delayed reserve rule does not apply to reduced units in the reserve box, and that's how. The reason they become reduced units in that is because you're replacing them from an eliminated unit to a 1-step unit. But it doesn't say that under this rule. So 9.1 I said. Well, it's 9. Units in German reserve units box. Units in the German reserve units box are reserve units. They are eligible to enter play via reserve deployment at 2 times during the game turn. During a German impulse, when you conduct the German deploy reserve command, deploy all eligible reserve units in the formation listed in the command card. And then the other option is from turn 2 onwards, delayed German reserves. At the start of the reserve phase on game turn 2, and all game turns thereafter, deploy all eligible German reserve units remaining in the reserve box. Remaining in the reserve box from the previous game turn. Well, that's still saying the same thing, isn't it? It feels like they can sneak away with that one and get to deploy the reduced units then. And what I mean on that, we can't get replacement points till turn 3, but let's just say this is in turn 3, they replace this unit, right? And it goes in the reserve units box. And that was in turn 3. So come turn 4, in the reserve phase, right? Open that page up again. So this is, let's just say this is turn 4. At the start of the reserve phase on game turn 2 and all game turns thereafter, so turn 4, deploy all eligible German reserve units. The eligible part, I'm guessing it just means by the deployment methods. It doesn't really say. So deploy all eligible German reserve units remaining in the reserve box from the previous game turn. Well, that means we could deploy this unit in its reduced state, I think. Whereas we're not allowed to do that as the Soviets. It has to be has to have the game turn on it. Okay, well that's fair enough, and it's good to know. And it's probably not going to happen for a bit anyway, so hopefully if I've got that wrong, somebody might comment and say, no, it is the same as the Soviets and you don't do it. But yeah. Okay, so this is turn 2, and the units remain from the previous game turn. their units have been there since game turn 1. So we're going to attempt to deploy them right now. Okay, so I've just put them down the bottom of the map here. And like I say, 2 from 40 Corps, 1 from 3rd Corps. Interesting in the fact that this is selector number 2, this is selector number 5, and this is selector number 3. So we're going to do it in this order. It's probably not, well, I say it's probably not relevant, but they're actually all deploying in the same sort of area. That's assuming they're going to deploy, of course. But it does, we do have to check them in ascending order. Yeah. Check them ascending order. And we're still just method A. That's between turn 1 and 3, so this is turn 2. Okay, so see, well, you know what? This part's going to just be all about the start, I think. Which is probably quite good, because I spent 20 minutes boiling on some mistakes and stuff that I'd wanted to fix. Bit of a shame though, it means there's not going to be any gameplay, and I don't know if I'm going to have time this evening to do an impulse. But okay, we'll be ready for tomorrow at least. So can we deploy these guys? Well, let's have a look. I'll just hopefully keep them in the picture. And so it's unit selector 2 we want to deploy, which is part of 40 Corps. He's got his buddies here, but that's not relevant. I always felt like it was in Ardennes. Don't know, am I thinking wrongly there? I always thought, but there was something about, there felt something that you could sort of game that a little bit if you knew that the unit had to be sort of deployed beside, you know, I think I want to say it wanted to be within 3. Don't get me wrong, I think if it comes down to some preferences, yeah, preference B is it wants to be within 3 of the unit in the same corps. But I think this time it feels like it's wanting to do other things that are more important first before doing that. I could be wrong with that. I could be wrong. So, right, let's get this guy. Hex is empty or garrison. Right, in reserve units army area. So these are all in 1st Panzer Army. So this is our line, and it's that side of the line. Right, okay. So, and then if we can just jump to Soviet unit proximate to the hex, and remembering to disregard garrisons when we're checking for this, because that's the one we need to come down to right now. So let's have a look and see what empty position hexes or empty or garrison position hexes that or also you've got a city that was occupied by 1 German steppe. Well, we've only got 1 city in this area that's round this area that we don't control anyway. And that's this one, and it's garrison, so it is a possibility, but I'm pretty sure we're not proximate to that. So let me see if I can mark a couple of options. Okay, I think that's the best I can get, is these 4 hexes here. Well, it's pretty much based. I was looking at this. This is a mechanized 6 unit, but it costs 2 to break zone of control to move into there, and then so it's the same, really approximate distance as using this infantry that doesn't need to break zone of control and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, not into there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3. So they're my 4 choices. I don't think I can stretch to anything else. They're not in the artillery barrage. No. Soviet unit in German reserve supply, yes. Soviet unit proximate, we've already decided that. I'm going to skip by this one. We'll come back to it. Hex is not Soviet town, not adjacent to German unit. That's good, yes. So yeah, the one I'm skipping by is obviously unit would not be in dangerous surround if placed in hex unless, and the unless again is going to be that the placement would remove dangerous surround from another unit. And just to look at the possibility of another unit being in dangerous surround, I don't think this one has. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We can get to that hex obviously, but that doesn't. Again, I like to look at the hex that I feel like the unit can escape to, and yeah, he can escape. I'm not gaining control of that hex. Yeah, okay. So I don't think any of them are going to enable a unit that's in dangerous round to become not in dangerous round. That's what we're saying. So, but are any of them going to be in dangerous round? Well, that one's not. That's too far away. Let me know what you think. As we can thought this one might be, but no. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can get into here and here, but can't quite get this around. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing any. I mean, these two are further away, which is even harder to get. So, again, like I like to look at, I can't gain zone of control in this hex. If this unit was here, if I deploy the unit here, I cannot. And pretty similar if you look at these two. And there's nothing across this side that can come and help with that as well. The third tank army have moved on. Now, bear in mind, again, we can't cross over there, but I suppose one of them could end up being in one of these hexes, but there's nothing within proximity to do that. So, I think all the hexes are good. So, we're going to come down to what we prefer. VPX with the lowest position number, there's none of them. Within 3 hexes of a unit in the same core. Right, well, we talked about this, but he's away down here, so 1, 2, 3, not quite reaching any of them. So we'll have to skip by that. Hex that removes dangerous surround from another German unit or enables another German unit to trace supply. They cannot trace supply. I've already checked for dangerous surround on that guy, who's the most... yeah, I can't get around, can I? I was looking there again, doubting myself, but I can't. Even these guys to get them 6. We've got 6 movement maximum. There's 1. That would be another 2 into broken. Yeah, I mean, it's 4 from there, and we can't. 1, 2, 3, 4. We cannot get round to here. No. Okay. So that's not helping either. So D is not in dangerous surround. I think this one confused me at first because we've already checked through that, but I think there must be a time. I think it's if it's a VP hex or something. However, none of them are in dangerous round. Not map page hex. Okay, lowest number, right? So, well, it's going to be 1708, isn't it? Now hang on, stop. Is it position number? Yes. Have I made this mistake before then? I was about to look at hex number there again. Well, I've not been pulled up for it, so I know the last time I talked about it and got away with it, and I was almost about to do it there. So it is position number, not hex number. 65, 66, 72. So actually is this one again. So I think he's going there. He's in his army area. In reserve supply. Soviet unit was proximate to that hex. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's not in dangerous round. Not adjacent to a German unit. Yeah, okay. And that we broke down the preferences, and it came to the last one being lowest position number. So yeah, so he's deployed there. So now we're going to try and deploy this unit, which is from 3rd Corps. He's in the same area, though the same army area. Now, we are not proximate to this anymore. Are we? We are not. We are proximate to the other two, though. Yeah, so we can probably get another deployment in one of the two. Do we not just go right down and find the lowest position number again? I think so. Yeah, because again, there's no dangerous surround if they were to be placed there. Not adjacent to a German unit. I mean, yeah, there's nothing really changed. Oh, hang on. Right, once we get to preferences, VP hex with lowest position number. No. Within 3 hexes of a unit in the same corps. Yes. So, but they're both within 3 of a unit in the same corps, so we need to break it down more. Hex that removes dangerous sound from our German unit or enables another German unit trade supply. No, not a dangerous sound. No, non-man. Right, so it's still coming down to the lowest number. That's 72, that's 85. He's going to go there. Now, we are now not proximate to this. Nope. So I think we're probably not going to be able to deploy that guy. Yeah, that's it. We're kind of stuck there. Okay, I think I'm satisfied that I can't deploy that 3rd unit. Because there's not a position hex that a Soviet unit is proximate to within his army area. So I'm going to put him back in the reserve units box. Now, hang on. That rule says from the previous turn, doesn't it? Or does it say previous turns? Just the wording of that made me start doubting. At the start of the reserve phase on game turn 2 and all game turns thereafter, deploy all eligible German reserve units remaining in the reserve box from the previous game turn. Well, I suppose you could argue he's going back to the... He's going back to the reserve units box. He's going to be there from the previous turn, I suppose. Maybe I'm just reading that in a way that I shouldn't be. Okay, I'm putting him back in the reserves. Okay, so I put him back. He's in there himself, so... Yeah, I don't know why I was reading into that and wondering about that. I'm not sure. Just because it said previous turn. Well, he's been there since game turn 1. So now when we come to game turn 3... He's going to have been there since game turn 1, you know. Am I looking too far into that one? Possibly. Yeah, I think I just check him again next turn if I can deploy him. However, he might well deploy within game turn 2 anyway, with a drawing of another 40 core reserve deployment card, you know. And the situation might have changed where there's a Soviet unit proximate to somewhere he could go. Okay, right, let's move on. Right, so that was step 1 of the reserve phase. I really should look at it in the rulebook if it just opens things up a bit. Well, there you go, page 9. It's probably not. Yeah, and you know what? There you go in the rulebook. Page 9. Conduct the following steps sequence from turn 2 onwards. Deploy to the map all German units already in the reserve units box from previous game turns. So it actually says game turns there. I think it was just, but then I was reading it. Oh, I don't know. Right, okay. Let's move on. Right, so from turn 3 onwards, and that's the reason I came down here, although we're not on turn 3, you may deploy to the mat any Soviet units in the reserve units box with a printed entry turn 2 game turns earlier than the current game turn. There you go. And I think that's why they only stay that there, because if this unit was in here like that, well, he's reduced. He's not eligible for that. He's not got a game turn on him as well. So any reduced units are not going to show a game turn anyway. But these guys will show game turn 1. So if they're in there next turn, we'll be able to deploy them at this stage. Right, and then take all Soviet and German units from the calendar space for the current game turn and place them in their respective reserve units box. Right, we'll have a look at that then. Okay, so we've got 2 units. Both our guys, isn't they? So this guy comes down, he's from the 40th Army, and he'll go into the... I might just show them... Yeah, while there's space, I'll leave them separate. And then First Guards now, he's... so that's quite handy actually, because they're the guys we didn't deploy. I guess that quite a few games are going to probably end up like that, right enough. So they're there in the reserve units box. I've just left them separate now, if there happens to be more. Just so that we know that this is game turn 1, these 2 are game turn 2. But more likely now I might want to deploy these, because, you know, that guy on his own felt like it was a waste of a car, but now that he's bringing his big brother along, then a bit better, and I suppose this one's its little brother. However, at least you're getting 2 rather than just a 1. And there was nothing for the Germans then on game turn 2. So that's good. Yeah, I'm just seeing they get some stuff on game turn 3, and then game turn 4 is a bit nasty. Yeah, game turn 4 is very nasty. Right, okay. Well, I'm not there yet, Grant. So what's the next step? Right, so the next step is the card preparation phase. So we prepare the cards. We place Soviet reinforcement cards scheduled to enter play this date face down in the draw pile if primary, or face down the available supplemental card if supplemental. They've kept the wording that way, but which is probably for the best, but you'll notice that all the cards are supplemental, that we can, but yeah, I think it makes sense that it is the second game in the series, and some of the wording's going to be, you know, if you, for instance, in Ardennes, there is supplemental and there is some primaries that you would do, so okay, so, and then if we look, we're looking for game turn 2, so we've got 1, 2, 3 cards from game turn 2. So they are going to go face down. I'll put these back, we don't get these. These are going face down, not in the draw pile, because these are not primary, like I say, they're all supplemental. So they're going to go face down in the available supplementals. And these are our available supplementals, the ones that we didn't use last turn, right? So they go face down there, and then we shuffle all the available supplemental cards, right? And I will do that. And we draw the number of cards indicated for this game turn and place them face down the draw pile. And we look in the calendar and it says Soviet supplemental 7. So we'll draw 7 of these. 4, 5, 6, 7. Only leaves 1, so that goes back there. So there's that randomness. I mean, I dare say once you've played the game a few times, you might start sussing out what cards you're not going to get, but there's always a random area where you're not sure for sure. And then place all the supplemental discards from the previous day face down in here. So that was all these, and I'll just double check that they're all supplementals, just in case I've made a mistake. So, you know, just to get a heads up, we won't get this card today because it's not available. All these cards are not available. So I guess some of you that are, like, again, that played it are going to look at that and store some things in your memory, but I'll just put them in the available supplementals for the next day. So they'll get shuffled up, and again, there'll more than likely be one or two left behind that you don't know what you're getting. And then we place all the primary discards from the previous turn, which is these. I'll just check they're all primary. 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we've got 6 primaries. They go face down in the discard the draw pile, sorry. And then we shuffle all this up, and then draw 5 cards, and that's us ready to go. Okay, that's all done. I've drawn my starting hand of 5. Just to let you know, there was 13 cards to start with this turn, where I think you only had 12 in the first turn. But I've not looked at my hand yet, though. We'll do that just before we finish this part. And then we shuffle the German cards. It's a little bit simpler. Basically, we just take all the German command cards. There's not any reinforcements that come along. Shuffle all them up, and yeah, just give them that's their command deck ready to go. Okay, that's all then shuffled up, and then a slight bit to do here. Update the German action deck. So we remove action cards. This is action deck. We didn't quite use them all. There was one left. So we remove any that are just for turn 1. There's one there. So that gets brought out. I think there's only the one. Yeah, so that gets brought out, and then we look at the and I'll put them in order here. So this is game turn 2. So this one from 2 onwards. The next ones are 3. We're gonna get 2 cards from 3 onwards, and then more as they carry on. So this gets put in the pile here, and then basically now we shuffle this up. The other one, the turn 1, is just removed from the game. So probably just tuck that over there, just hopefully in the hope that I don't bring it into play again. So that's done its thing. And what was it? Deploy flank protection. Right, so and then we shuffle the action deck up, and then it's good to go. Okay, and that's that shuffled up and ready to go. So that's all the cards done. Right, let's keep moving here, Grant. We're looking at storage issues again, as usual. So supply, if we can just get through the supply phase and then be ready to start command phase with a Soviet impulse, then that'll just make a part. Maybe not the most exciting part, but right. So supply. Okay, let's look at that. Conduct the following steps in sequence. Right. Step 1: determine supply status of all German units, and then from turn 4 onwards, all Soviet units. So we don't need to check for Soviet supply. We remove all out of supply and isolate markers from units able to trace supply, but there's none of them. And then we adjust supply status of units unable to trace supply, place an out of supply marker on each unsupplied unit. And then if there was unsupplied units, we would put an isolated marker on them. If they're already isolated, we then check remove a step. But that's delving a bit deeper into it. And then step 3 of that is from turn 8 onwards, we check Soviet VPs to determine where the Soviet support line is. Right, but that's a wee while away yet. Might not even get to that. So all we're really doing here is checking German supply because it's not turn 4 yet. So let's look at that. Okay, so just going to have a quick look over this side. Now, although these guys are on a German map edge hex, and although I talked about you can't trace reserve supply, we're not doing that just now. We're just tracing supply. So these guys can just pop off the map there, that's fine. They're in supply. So let's just move along. Yeah, there's not as much to look at in this game. This guy's clearly in supply. He is as well. So is he. This guy's got to manoeuvre a little bit, but it's not by much because he can't just trace up this road because this Soviet unit's exerting control in this. But he can easily just go 1-2 onto this road, and then he's away doing his thing. So no problems there. Then we've got the couple of Rouse units, and also the 57 core unit here that was reduced. Don't think there's any issues with them. Yeah, this road's fine for them just now. So he just traces onto there and he's away. He's actually on. They two are actually on the road and away, and so is he. He's on the road. He's away. No problems. Yeah, I don't think there's any issues with any of them, is there? This guy's fine. This guy's fine. This guy can just trace. And again, they've got, not that they need it, but you know, this guy can trace onto this road, and then he could trace his supply source down through here, which is a German map edge hex. However, if we want to trace reserve supply, we can't trace it through here. We'd need to trace it elsewhere. And yeah, no problems here. He's actually on the map edge hex. So yeah, no issues with supply. All good. I think the one unit we had, we thought we might have had, but I think he bugged out, didn't he? Pulled out. It was this unit we had surrounded in this hex here, I think he was. And I had to comment, I can't remember the guy's name. He had suggested, could we not have attacked that? And yeah, I probably did have a chance to do it. I want to say it was Dean, but I think I'm wrong with that. Sorry. Wait now, I should give the guy credit. Hang on. Yeah, it was Dean. I got it right. Yeah, he was suggesting could I not have attacked that when it was in here, and that was on part 4, and we know we then made the attack, but he'd obviously not watched that part yet. But quite possibly, Dean, I could have. I think I've thought about it. I think we could have acted. I think I used the 2-6 army cards I had for. Did I not have 2 of them? Or maybe it was only 1 I had and I used it for a combat tactic instead. But yeah, certainly I could have done. But if you've watched turn 5 now, well, this is turn 7. Sorry, not turn 7, part 7. So part 5 did make the attack on this guy, and it kind of went horribly wrong because he pulled out. He lost a step with retreating in his zone of control, so we got him with that. But yeah, if he had stayed there, he would have not been able to chase supply, and we would have got him in an out of supply status. But that's not what happened, and so they're all good. All German units good, and I think we're done with all the phases. So now we're up to a command phase, and we start with conducting a Soviet impulse. So what I'm going to do is, that's long enough for this episode. Like I say, I know there's not any gameplay. But there was a few things to talk about. So I'm just going to lay out my 5 cards to show you what I've got for the start of the turn. So there's our opening hand. We've got 2 primary cards. 3rd Tank Army. That's a full activation of them. Could see that being a possible starter. This is only a units card for the pop-off, so 2 stacks. We've got 2 cards for the 1st Guards Army. Actually, they're both the full bone one, aren't they? My thinking is I'll probably deploy the 2 units because we got an extra one this turn, remember I was saying, so probably use that to deploy, probably use it with this one, I think. I don't know, we'll see. And then we've got 69th Army, it's just for units though. Got fixed artillery combat tactics, so that's a bit meh, don't know. Yeah, okay. Well, that's alright. It looks pretty decent. 3rd Tank Army card looks like it might be the 1st, and reason being, quick glance before we go, as what is it? Belgrade. Activate 3rd Tank Army, garrison goes away, we pop into Belgrade and grab ourselves that city. So I could see that being the 1st That gives us 2 victory points, taking us up to 8. Now, I know it's only turn 2, but I'm pretty sure we start checking on turn 4, so I will need to just probably remind myself of, I want to say it's 12 points to move on, but I need to be careful and know if I need to press a bit harder, you know. Okay, so there's opening hand. I will get away for now and get this uploaded. Hopefully I'll have a browse over it before I fire it off to you, just in case I can spot anything. I mean, it is only just fixing mistakes and set up for the next turn, so I suppose I could take a chance with that one, chuck it out there, and maybe if I've got time, maybe start recording some more. We shall see. Okay, but I'll be back soon. Cheers, guys.